Hello everyone, welcome back. So it is another month, and here is another of my witchy to-be-read books. So for the month of November, we're just kind of doing a hodgepodge of random books. Number one is one of the newer books that I have. It is the Modern Witchcraft Book of Tarot, Your Complete Guide to Understanding the Tarot, and it is the same author, Skye Alexander, who did the Modern Guide to the Runes, and this author has a few books out there, a modern guide to whatever. So eventually I may end up picking them up. It's one of those that it was like the Rune one wasn't terrible. So I was like, maybe. Which is surprising because it's from one of those publishing houses that's like sketchy on a good day for the witchcraft. We have the next one. It's this little book and it's really weird. It's squishy. It's like a squishy cover. It's like a balloon. But anyways, so I don't know what this one is really about. But I was just looking at the bookshelf and I was like, well, we're just gonna have to eventually start diving into the weird books. Let's just jump in. So, this is from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer, Being in Balance, 9 Principles for Creating Habits to Match Your Desires. I don't know diddly squat about anything about this book, other than I read the title and I was like, well, it doesn't sound Christian, so we're gonna keep it. Because, again, my mother-in-law was a Christian witch. So, well, she didn't use the label of witch. She was the love and light Christian crowd, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, so anyways, we'll see how this book goes. Again, really tiny, so it'll be nice to just have a easy read because I've had a lot of really big books the past month. Then, of course, I'm still continuing my studies with the runes, so we have this one. So, I know this author is kind of problematic. It's one of those that it's like, do you separate the author from the weird of their private life? And like, he's just one of those authors that has a lot of baggage that comes attached, but there's not a lot of books out there, so it gets kind of difficult. I don't remember if he actively is against the AFA. I think he is. I don't remember. But anyways, that's a story for a different day. For now, we do have the book, so I might as well read it. This is Futhark, A Handbook of Rune Magic. It's not terribly big, but I would like to know the runes a little bit more, so he's one of those authors that pops up very frequently, keeping in the same vein of probably problematic authors. Remember TJ Conway? I still have some of her books. So we're just gonna read them. We're gonna roll with the ones that I have, because I have them, so I might as well read them. So this is her Elemental Magic book. This one is my husband's book. If I remember right, he didn't love this book. He doesn't really like DJ Conway. I think it was this book. He said that there were a number of things she would tell you about and then say, don't work with these things. And he was like, why are you telling me about it then? If I can't work with it, if it's a no-no, why are you telling me about it? And in like extensive detail. I did decide to have one of the larger books, so we're going with this one. So again, this is from my husband and his mother-in-law's collection. And this is Animal Spirit Guides, an easy-to-use handbook for identifying and understanding your power animals and animal spirit helpers. And this is by Stephen D. Farmer. I have his deck. It's like Earth Magic, I think is what it's called. I've had it for years. That is the deck I use. I use every year to pull a card. I've used it since, I want to say like 2015, 2014. I've had it, oh, actually maybe even longer. Probably longer. Because I used it in high school. So 2012, maybe? I feel like maybe that was the next big year that I can kind of remember. I remember the place I had it and like where my mom gave it to me, but the other details of like how old I was, what was going on in my life at that point, gone to the winds of time. So going back into some of my older books, I decided we're just gonna do this book. It's probably not one I'm gonna really incorporate much, but we got this one. As you can see, I was taking notes at one point in time. Magic and Power of the Goddess, Initiation, Worship, and Ritual in the Western Mystery Tradition by Gareth Knight. I think this is a book about Isis and like worshiping her back when she was my main goddess and was still kind of included in the crew. And so, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I figured I might as well. I don't know what my notes are about. Really, I was just attempting to like, how everyone has like these things. I don't get it. I cannot take notes like this. I tried for a few books and I was like, this is really, really stupid. What are you doing? And so I just, if it's a short quote, I put it, just type it directly. Otherwise, I just take a picture of it and then just stick it in a Google Doc. And it lives in my ebook of shadows when I want to reference back to a book and be like, what was some key points from that book? I can just pull up the document that has it all. And then eventually I will probably print those out and add them to the book of shadows, just to have a physical copy as well. So as I've mentioned, I am getting more into kitchen witchery and just doing a lot more cooking and stuff. And I'm kind of leaning away from a lot of processed foods and a lot more into making it yourself. It's also cheaper to make it yourself usually. And so and even if I buy like something processed like spaghetti sauce, I like am wanting to add stuff to it just to kind of make it my own. Like last night I made spaghetti and we had like green peppers that needed to be cooked, so I added those and like a can of olives and then cooked up like a little bit of hamburger, mixed it in, and it turned out really, really good. So I'm getting more into that. I'm trying to get a recipe of bread that works, but like it's a journey with bread. So anyways, I figured this is a good book for what I'm trying to accomplish. So this is Supermarket Magic by Michael Fury. I could be getting that last name wrong, probably, but I'm curious if there's anything worthwhile in here. Then we have another one from my mother-in-law in her collection. So we have The Psychic in You. So Understand and Harness Your Natural Psychic Powers by Jeffrey A. Wands. I don't know. I don't know much about her books. She was more into Reiki and psychics and mediumship and tarot and stuff like that. I'm more into like witchcraft and like crystals and spells and candles and stuff. But I kept quite a few of her books. This is one of them. Figure we'll read it. And because I want to just give myself a challenge, I have a lot of these are kind of older books. I have one that is a classic, and this is one I bought used a while ago. This was actually a book that was recommended when I was doing Charming Pixie Flora's Yurna Yay studies. It was long after she was actually involved with it. You just paid and then you would self-guide yourself through it. But this was one of the readings that you had to do. It was just a part out of this book. And it's Positive Magic, Occult Self-Help by Marion Weinstein. It's one of those classics of the witchcraft community. A lot of people reference this book, so I was like, well, I have it. Let's read it. But I remember when I read through the part that was in the required readings for that lesson, that this book was very I don't love when books tell you that your thoughts are dangerous and that if you're having bad thoughts, you're manifesting things. I feel like that's really dangerous, especially for people who are dealing with mental illness, because just for myself, like having anxiety and depression and you're telling me that because I'm having these thoughts, it's manifesting, that's very, very dangerous. And let alone that like people who battle like schizophrenia, like that's gotta be really rough. And I follow quite a number of people who talk about it openly on TikTok, and like that discussion gets a little bit more complicated like when Christians come at them and tell them like, oh well, you're just hearing like demons, and it's extremely problematic for people. And so I feel like books that tell you that like your thoughts manifest into reality, and then you have people who have thoughts that are definitely not safe thoughts are manifesting, whether it is as extreme as schizophrenia or if it's milder. Like, it sounds terrible, but like, let's be real. Seeing and hearing things that aren't there has got to be a lot worse than like whatever your brain is telling you, because that just sounds absolutely horrifying. But to have your thoughts of like that, just like intrusive thought of just like, what if right now like your loved one is dead in their living room and you're not gonna know, and like you got to go deal with it right now and you got to go check it, and like, you know, like those thoughts probably aren't really real, or the anxiety spirals that happen and being like, oh great, now I'm manifesting this and I can't stop thinking about it, but it's manifesting, oh my god. Very problematic. And I think there's just a better way to handle that discussion. And that's the only thing I remember out of this book was I was like, that's really stupid. And I think they had like a clause of like, I can't remember if it was in the book or in her program, but it was something like, well, when you have a bad thought, you just say like, cancel, cancel, cancel. And I'm like, bro, that's all I'm gonna be saying. Like, now I'm better, but I feel like there are better ways to go about dealing with it than that. You know, like, okay, let's work on like some of the root problems and like starting to shift your mindset and getting the help that you need, whether that's medication, therapy, the witchcraft tools that are used in therapy but are definitely not witchcraft. The amount of stuff that therapy has told me to do it's just witchcraft was like kind of insane. And once you actually start doing it with the more witchcraft focus versus their version, it worked a lot better personally. But yeah, so anyways, I'm curious how this book is gonna go. And then lastly, we have this book. So again, it's one of the smaller books, not terribly thick. This is Witchery, Embrace the Witch Within by Juliette Diaz. I think she has another book out now, but I haven't got it. It's one of those that it's from a random publisher, so I get a little iffy about it. So anyways, those are the books that I'm planning on reading in the month of November. I will be having the remaining book that I talked about in October coming this weekend. I'm still working through it. The Celtic Lore and Spellcraft of the Morrigan, the big book from Stephanie Woodfield on the Morrigan, is a lot to get through. It's a very dense book, so it's taken some time. These are the books. If you have read these, I would love to hear your thoughts on them either in this video or when these come out later this month. Do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day. Thank you to my patrons. I'll have their names here on the screen. If you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. And until next time, thank you for watching and blessed be.